I tell you right now is speaking. Okay? So if you don't like to speak, sorry, you're going to today. All right? You got to get out of your comfort zone. Hey, in the back, please keep your eyes up here. Okay? All right, when I'm talking, I want you to watch. I want you to pay attention, okay? I'm going to give you respect when you're talking. All right? So name and grade, okay? Why did I do that? I just want to get a little bit of familiarity of who you are, because at some point I will speak with you again, whether it's in the community, okay, whether it's here, or whether it's out on the street, okay? And I try to remember people, all right? So let's start over here. Freshman? Okay. Junior?
Kaylee Holstein, and I'm a senior.
Good.
I'm a freshman. Anna, sophomore.
David, sophomore.
All right, so we got a wide variety, freshmen all the way up to seniors. Okay, and again, I understand why some people take classes. I took a lot of electives in high school that were easy. Okay, now I'm into education. All right, I have a master's degree, so I really attended a lot of schooling post high school. So I enjoy the education aspect. I'm going to refer to him as Officer Carper because that's how I know him. I'll try to say Mr. Carper for you guys, but Mr. Carper touched on the music and how the genres can change and how you'll change with those. I was a 90s hip hop kid growing up. That's all I listened to, nonstop. Now I listen to everything under the sun. Okay. I got 2 daughters that I'm pushing on the 90s hip hop, but they're young and they like country, which is fine. But with each style of music comes culture, and we're going to talk about culture a lot today. I think culture is extremely important to understand, and until you understand somebody's culture, you really don't understand who they are. Okay, so we're going to dive into that. I got a PowerPoint up here as a reference point for some things, but I don't like sitting here reading off the PowerPoint. I'm not going to lie to you. We'll skim through it, but I'm not going to teach off of that, okay? On the bottom of your sheet, I want you to write down something right now. I want you to ask yourself a question. And then throughout this presentation, I want you to think about it, okay? The question is, could I work in public safety? Or can I work in public safety? And I don't want you to answer it right now. I want you to think about it throughout the day, okay, or throughout this course. And then I'll give you a few minutes at the end to answer that question. All right? Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Right now, I'm on my patrol division. I just moved back to nights, so I apologize. I'm going to be drinking coffee throughout. I usually work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I just came off of a 5-year stint in investigations. So I was a detective for the last 5 years. I've been back on patrol for 2 months. So my sleep schedule is still not there yet. Because CID, which is Criminal Investigation Division, it's a day shift most of the time deal. So I apologize if I'm a little sleepy at times, but I'll try to stay energetic.
Change it. We have problems already.
Let's see here.
There we go.
There it is. Okay. I just put the mission of the police department on here. You can read through that. I put that on anytime I do a presentation. So if you want to skim through that real quick, that's fine. I will not read off the PowerPoint to you guys. I just refuse to do that. You guys are all capable of reading, okay? You might have to get it. There it is. All right. Why law enforcement? Okay? And I'm going to touch on this throughout. But why did I get into law enforcement? I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't like cops when I was in high school. I didn't. I'll be the first one to tell you, I didn't dislike cops. I was never disrespectful. I was always yes sir, yes ma'am to law enforcement. But when I grew up, I just didn't care for them a whole lot because I didn't understand them. Right? I just figured I'd handle my own problems, and I did for the most part. I never was a knucklehead that got too far into trouble or anything like that. But I never in my life thought I'd be in law enforcement. I'm going to tell you, it took me to 32 years old before I started thinking about getting into law enforcement. I'm 40 years old now. But I became a cop specifically to come back to Burlington. I love this community. I was born and raised here. I moved away with college and everything for about 16 years. 14 years, somewhere around there. But I came home because I love it here. And then I fell in love with being an officer. It's an awesome opportunity to just get involved in the community, okay? And I'll touch on that further as we go. Go ahead. So I'm going to talk about our patrol division a little bit. Currently, what I do on patrol, we do a lot of traffic. Okay. Yeah.
I'll be remote.
Okay. We do a lot of traffic, and that's traffic investigations. We handle a lot of domestic issues. We handle some civil issues, but we handle problems a lot of times when they are people's worst days. Okay? So when we come to a house, a lot of times it's somebody's worst day, and we got to have that in our mind. Because if I come and handle a situation, if you guys are arguing about something, you don't want me to be there. But I'm there to try to help out the situation. I understand that you don't want me to be there a lot of the times. But we want to make sure it doesn't escalate from where it's at. Okay, so it's a unique thing to go to somebody's house when they are up here mentally and they don't want you to be there, but you're there to help. It's very unique. I look at it as an opportunity to meet somebody on one of their worst days and have an impact on their life. Some people look at it as a frustrating thing because we're getting cussed at, we're getting yelled at, we're getting called everything under the sun. I don't look at it that way. I don't care what you call me. I know what I'm there for. Right? So I think it's an awesome opportunity for us to do that. You want to hit that card?
Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll talk about CID a little bit. I told you I spent the last 5 years in CID. I'm going to skim through this because you're going to have a detective come here. So I'll just barely touch the surface of some of these things. I'll let her dive into those. Detective Chris is going to come here, later this week. And so I don't want to take away anything from her. So I'll just touch a little bit on some of the things that I did when I was in CID. That working?
That it just flipped.
Huh. No worries.
There you
Okay. So CID, we did crimes against people, and that can range from a variety of things. If you look up here, I did homicides. Okay, I did a lot of sex abuse, robberies, burglaries, and arsons were the big ones that we had. Okay, everybody thinks, what do you think's the most important one up here out of all of those for us to handle? Sex abuse? Who said that? Absolutely right, in my eyes. Me and you share the same thing. I've worked homicides where somebody killed another person, and I put them in prison for life. Okay? That is not...
That's the trauma that you can get from sex abuse.
Yes, and we'll talk about that. That is not the... that wasn't the best part and the worst part of my CID experience. Okay? I worked multiple homicides. They're fun to work. Sounds morbid, but they are fun to work because there's a lot to them. Your brain's constantly working for 2 weeks straight. You don't shut it off. That's all you do. But the most rewarding and most terrible thing I worked was sex abuse. And believe it or not, we have a ton of sex abuse in Burlington, Iowa. We're not unique. It's not unique to us. It's everywhere. And I think a lot of it is because of the phones that you have in your hands. You guys have so much stuff that's so prevalent to you that it is. I'm glad I didn't grow up in this era. But statistically speaking, probably 2 out of everybody in here would be abused at some point in your lives. And that's a terrible thing because of the trauma that will carry a long time with you, if not your whole life. So one of the things that we did as detectives, we roughly about 3 times a month, I would work a sex abuse case. And that's ranging from a teeny bopper here that was abused by a sibling, a family member, to adults. And I'll be honest with you, the teeny bopper, that's a tough thing to work. And I'll speak a little bit more on this than Detective Chris is going to, because I just had a lot more experiences than her in this area right now. It's a hard thing. I got 2 daughters, and those are hard things to work when you have children yourself. And even if you don't have children, they're tough to work. Because can anybody tell me the conviction rate nationally for sex abuse? What's that?
Prison.
I can't hear you.
Prison.
No, the conviction rate, the percentage of people that are found guilty for abusing somebody sexually. Anybody?
Not as high as it should be.
Oh, definitely not, but throw out a guess.
60%.
60? What about? Anybody else?
20.
It's 13%.
Ooh, God.
13%. And it's scary how low it is, but that is for a couple different reasons. A lot of abuse is historical. Okay, people don't speak on it right away because they feel embarrassed and other things. And I studied this hard. It's not anything to feel embarrassed about, but a lot of people do feel embarrassed about it. And I'm not going to judge anybody for how their feelings are because I wasn't in that particular situation. So a lot of times it's just failure to report right away. So the physical evidence is gone. And a lot of it is a he said, she said type thing. And that's challenging as well. It's challenging for us to do our job without physical evidence. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly. We'll move on from that, but robberies, burglaries. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's been a lot of car burglaries around here lately. It's driving me nuts. I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to find out. I will bet you money we'll find out very soon who it is. But they're playing a bad game because they're going to intentionally try to take somebody's property. If you come out to my house and try to take my property, it's going to end up bad for you. And that's what's going to happen to this individual who's doing this. They're going to come across the wrong person who's prepared, and something bad's going to happen to this individual. And I'm not saying that to be a negative guy, but I know how this works. We've had a bunch of car windows shot out. So now you're adding guns into this equation. It's getting scary. It is getting scary. Because that never ends well. Arsons, we've had 2 or 3 arsons recently. And you don't hear about them a whole lot, but we've had them. They're actually very unique cases to work because there's so much involved that we have to rely on a lot of times the fire department and the fire chief or the fire marshal to help us out with those. But they're pretty fun cases because most individuals who are committing arson like to watch their work. So they're on scene when it's happening. very unique. Most people want to do a crime and then get out of there. They do not. They want to be there for it. So it's pretty unique to that. And then the thefts, the forgeries, that kind of stuff. We work, but they're not super exciting, comparatively speaking, to some of the other stuff. Crime scene processing, I won't touch a whole lot on that. I'll let Michaela do that. Interviews and interrogations, that was my baby when I was up there. I loved it. I love getting in the box with people. I love interacting with folks. I was very passionate about sitting down across the desk from somebody or a table from somebody and getting them to tell me things that they did not want to tell me. And it's an art form. You have people that first start in investigations and they're kind of like, how's this game work? How's this game work? But after about 4 years, you're sitting across from somebody and I can get you to tell me things that you would never think you would tell me. The last time I came out here and taught a class, there was an individual in this class. I said, nobody here wants to see me in the box. And this kid, big and bad, was like, man, you ain't gonna do nothing to me in the box. I didn't bust him out that day, but he forgot who I was because I got him to tell on all his friends. And he snitched on all his friends in the box on a crime that they had done, like 6 months prior to it. And I laughed because I could have put him out, but I didn't. But he did not want to see me in the box. And you get the seasoned veterans that are in there that know how to talk to people. It's really cool. But interviews and interrogations, that's all of investigation is for me. All this other stuff is all right, but I want to get somebody in the box to talk to them. Okay? And it's crazy how good you'll get over time. Just that, we call it at-bats of eliciting that information from people. But, so we'll just go through these real quick. I just put these up here just as a reminder of kind of what they are. A lot of times people think murder and they think that's it, life in prison. Okay, murder in the first degree in Iowa is automatic life in prison. I've been involved in 2 murder first cases. The individuals are in life. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, they will never come out. One of them was under 30 years old, so go to prison for 50, 60, 70 years. Not a good deal. But a lot of times when you think of murder, people think, oh, they're going to go to prison the rest of their life. A lot of times it's not that. A lot of times murder in the second degree, manslaughter, there's a lot of other things on here that can be involved in those cases. Okay, the murder first has to have intent. I have to intend on killing you. Okay, and it's premeditated a lot of times. Okay, so I have to say in my head, I'm going to do this. I have a plan to kill you, and then I go execute that plan. It can't be like, hey, if you and I engage in each other, and you punch me in my face, and I come and shoot you. Okay, that's not going to be murder first. All right, it's you might have punched me last week, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to kill this fool, and this is how I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to go do it. All right, go ahead and go to the next slide. The sex abuse, we talked a lot about that. There's different degrees of sex abuse as well. When you think of the big term is rape, okay? A rape can be a variety of different things. We hear people, victims or witnesses say rape a lot. Rape to me is something completely different to a lot of people, just because I've studied, I've done these things, but there's different degrees. And sometimes when you see people that get convicted of sex abuse and you're like, man, they didn't get that much time, that is because of the degree of the abuse that happened, is why we have those charging elements. So every time we charge somebody, it's based on charging elements of the crime. And you have to meet the elements of the crime. And I didn't write the elements, and sometimes I damn for sure don't agree with them as an officer. But the elements have to be met to charge these certain things. Okay? So a lot of times people get frustrated, like, oh man, they did this, they should have went to prison for X amount of time. It's just not the case. Okay? Go ahead. Robbery, we talked about that. Who can tell me the difference between burglary and robbery?
Isn't robbery when you steal from a house, and burglary is when you steal from like a bank or something?
Not necessarily, no. Some aspect of that is correct, but some is not. Anybody else?
Reverse?
What's that?
Is it reverse then?
No, so a burglary is going into an occupied structure. Okay, so if I come into your house and intend to take stuff, and I commit a crime while I'm in there, while I'm taking your belongings, okay? And when I think of robbery, I think of I'm coming in, I'm going to take something from his person, okay? I'm going to deprive him of things, all right? That's the easiest way to kind of put it for people. That there's a lot more elements to it, but taking something from an individual, from their person, is more of the robbery aspect. And we have those a lot of times, and the penalties for them are pretty high. A lot of times that you see these is if me and somebody else get into a fight, and I ended up dropping that person, and I take their belongings after I knock them out, that's a robbery, right? It went from a fight, assault, to a robbery, which you're going to prison for. So those are crazy things. Go ahead. We just talked about the burglaries, and those happen to be different degrees as well. You'll see on every one of these charges, you'll see a lot of language, first, second, third. There's tons of spin-offs, variations to them. And when I was a detective, I'd go sit in court, and I would charge somebody here, and a lot of times they ended up getting convicted with this. Because of, a lot of times jurors be like, man, I feel bad for that person. I feel bad for that person. So we'll do the lesser includeds. And I'm not here running my mouth about jurors, but I can guarantee you this. If those jurors' family members would have been the people, whoop, they would have wanted that top charge. What I charged them for. And, what's that? Yeah, they would have wanted more. Absolutely. But people feel sympathetic for people when they go to a lot of times in these trials, and so they get charged with the lesser includeds. So anytime I charge, or anybody charges a first degree, there's always going to be lesser includeds. And unfortunately, a lot of times those lesser includeds are what get charged. For a variety of reasons. Go ahead. Arsons, we talked about this. I don't know if Detective Chris is going to talk about this or not, but there's V patterns, there's all kinds of things that you look at. So people think that when I start a fire, everything gets burned up, and you're not going to be able to tell. That's false. If you have a decent skill set, I can go tell you exactly where that fire started. I can tell you if there was an accelerant, meaning if somebody poured gasoline or something on a wall. There's like what they call V patterns and other things that they'll show those things. Even most like total losses, there's cause and origin of where that fire started and kind of how it started. All right, go ahead. Thefts, you guys hear about these a lot, right? And this is more what I'm working on at patrol level, are thefts. They're pretty self-explanatory, but theft fifth is a thing that happens an awful lot. Somebody goes into a grocery store, takes something. Somebody goes into Marshall's, steals something. It's all determined by the dollar amount. Or how egregious it was. But the dollar amount determines what level of theft, i.e. what level of charge you're going to get. All right? Go ahead. Forgeries. We didn't talk about this a whole lot at the beginning. Who can tell me what a forgery is? A good example of forgery. Yes?
Writing someone else's name.
Boom. On a check? Awesome. That's usually what you hear of, right? Anybody else give me another example? What's that?
Claiming someone said something.
When they did it.
Like, pretending to have evidence that they said something.
Sure. Part of it? Yeah.
Creating something that's false.
Yep.
Oh, sure.
Falsifying documents, right? A big thing that we have is check fraud. But there's a lot of scammers out there now as well. And they are forging documents. So they'll get you to sign off for something. They'll say that car insurance, you need to sign off on this car insurance. They get your information and they start using that information. Okay? I've had some folks here in town that have had $160,000 taken out of their accounts off of forged documents. An individual told them that they needed to sign these documents for a timeshare that they had, and they signed off on it, and they said they needed to pay a tax for that. They got their bank account, and next thing you know, they start hammering their account. That's scary. $160,000, that's scary. Think about. I mean, they had a lot of money. You got $160,000 in your account, you got some money. But that's scary to think about. One of the things, a scam that was going around a couple years ago, I'll just share this because I thought it was pretty cool. You could buy this device online for $30. This device people would attach to their belt. And I'd go work at a bar, and you'd come on in and you'd buy a beer from me and you use your card, and I'd take that card and scan it right there, just real quick like that across my belt, and I'd go in and you pay for it. Now I have your credit card information on this thing. I'll go to a local hotel, I'll take the cards from the hotels, scan it, I got your debit card right here on the hotel card. I can use this as a debit card now to purchase things with a hotel card. It's nuts. It was going around like crazy a few years back. Now they're doing a lot better things with the chips on the cards and all those things, but they were stealing people's bank accounts in 5 seconds. Choo, done, got it. And it's just nuts. I mean, there's so much technology out there that is doing these things, whether it's a forgery or a theft. There's elements that come into play on it, but they were using those cards down the road and a lot of the stuff's overseas. A lot of it comes from overseas. Go ahead. Okay, crime scene processing. Like I said, I'm not going to touch on this a whole lot because I think Detective Chris will touch on this quite a bit. And I know she was out. My squad was working over the weekend, and we had a shooting over the weekend. And she came out and did all the crime scene processing for that shooting. So I will not touch on that a whole lot. I'll let her touch on that. Go ahead. Interviews and interrogations. So I told you this was my baby. I love this. Who can tell me what Miranda is?
A series of legal rights that you possess.
Yes. And what do you think about what words do you think about when I say Miranda?
A person, a name.
What else? Yes, your rights, right? Everybody hears it on TV. You have the right to remain silent. Okay?
Say, will, can be.
Yep. Go ahead and finish it.
I don't know.
Okay.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court of law.
What else?
That.
Yep. Anything else?
Yeah, let me Google it really quick.
Yeah, you're good. Okay, so that's right. When you're talking about Miranda, when do you need to use Miranda? When do I, as a police officer, need to advise Miranda? Yes. Possibly, yep.
During an interrogation.
During an interrogation,
Right,
big one.
Right before it starts.
Typically, it's not done in the courtroom anymore. Maybe in the past it was. Anybody else? So I'll tell you when you have to use Miranda. So custody, we'll talk about custody. Okay? Does anybody know in my terms as a police officer, when I have you in custody, what is that?
You're a suspect.
Yeah, potentially a suspect. What else?
You're being held for something.
Yep, you're being held for something, right? Does that mean the bracelets are on you? Possibly does, but not all the time, right? It could just be you're in the backseat of my car, you're down at the police department in an interview room. That's custody, right? You're not free to leave at that point, okay? For all intents and purposes, we use the word detained. You're detained right now. Custody, And then there's a difference between interviews and interrogations, right? Who could tell me the difference of that?
Isn't interrogation here trying to get information about like complaints and something?
Yeah, but so is an interview, right? Anytime I talk to you, I'm trying to get illicit information from you.
Can't
Did-
you be more like violent during interviews?
What's that?
Can't you use like a bit of violence during interrogations?
Like physical violence
No, like.
or verbal violence?
Verbal.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're getting at. An interview, if I sit there and talk to you, hey man, where'd you get that jacket at? Where'd you get those headphones at? What's your name? Where you from? That's an interview, right? But when I start turning the corner on you and making statements, I know you were at the crime, boss. I saw those boots that you got on. You had them unlaced like you got them tucked in. And I start saying those things to them, that turns into interrogation. Okay? So custody and interrogation equals Miranda. If I have both of those things, I need to Mirandize. Okay? So if I have you down at the police department in one of our interview rooms and I'm getting after you, I have to Mirandize. Okay? If I bring you down to the department and say, you come into an interview room with me, hey, Johnny, thanks for coming down. Did you drive your car? Yep. Where'd you park at? Out front? Okay. If you need to leave at any point, man, there's the door right here. You know how to go down the hallway, out this door. Is that custody? Nope. I'm just talking. I'm interviewing. Okay? So I don't need to Mirandize. And as a detective, Detective Chris will probably tell you, we love doing non-custodial, non-custody interviews because I don't have to Mirandize. Because a lot of times when you go like this and I say, hey, you have the right to remain silent, anything you say, people go, whoop, and clam up. I hear it all the time. Hey, why'd you not want to talk? And excuse my language, but this is what I'm told. Shit just got real. When you read Miranda. Okay? That's what's said a lot of times. Right? So we like to do non-custodial, more of an interview. Okay? I want to get to know who you are. And it sounds funny, but I truly do. Because if I get to know who you are, I know where to go with things. I know where to push, where to pull back, what information I need to get from you. Okay? Go ahead. So I want to do a call out. We'll let Michaela do that call out. Okay, I want to talk about our hiring process. And why am I going to talk about this is because it touches on the public safety question that I asked you earlier. All right? So our process is we have an application process. Okay? It's really easy to fill out the application. Then we have a test. The test is not a very challenging thing. Okay? People sometimes get tripped up over our test because they haven't done math in 15 years or something like that. But for most people, you guys will be able to walk through that and handle that really quick. Then we have an interview. You'll get down with the detective. You'll have an interview. Okay? They'll go through that interview process with you. They're going to ask you a wide variety of questions. This is where people get tripped up. This is a big thing where people get tripped up. Anybody ever had a polygraph? Nobody's taken a polygraph? I have. Okay? I'm a honest, what's that?
I've heard of them.
Yeah. I'm an honest person. So the polygraph was brutal for me. Because you have to admit to everything you've ever done in your life. Because as a detective, I want to know who we're getting to put a gun on their hip and a badge on their hip or a badge on their chest. And I want to make sure they have integrity. Okay? And there's a lot of good people out there that have failed the polygraph because they're scared to tell what they've done in their life. Guess what? I've told you at the start. I wasn't always a saint. I never in my life thought I'd be a cop. Okay? I ran around with knuckleheads. 2 of my best friends growing up are in federal prison right now.
Oops.
Yep. Yeah, they are. That's me being honest with you. Federal prison. One's got 14 years left, and one's got 16 years left.
What'd they do?
And they were my best friends growing up.
You still talk to them?
What'd they do?
What's that?
Did you still talk to them?
Yeah, I'll still talk to them. I can't now, because as in a department. But if they write me a letter, I'll write them back. But I can't call them. Okay. But the thing is, when I became an officer, I told them, hey, you know where I'm at. And the respect level they had, they said, if you come across me, take me to jail. You got to do your job. And I said, man, just quit doing what you're doing. They were doing some bad stuff. They chose not to. Now they're in federal prison. Okay? But again, the difference between me and them, right? They went down a path. Every time you guys, you'll come to a fork in the road, or a Y in the road. You have a decision to make. I've been to that fork, or that decision, a ton when I was younger. And I started going one way and then had people step in my life and I was able to go the other way. They just didn't have people step in their lives. That's the only difference. Not necessarily terrible people, right? I still call them friends, so they can't be terrible people. They made bad choices. A couple of them that cost them a lot of time. A lot of time. But that polygraph is rough because I've been at that fork in the road a lot in my life. Could have went this way. Glad I didn't. Somebody stepped in and told me to go this way. And you guys are going to do that all the time. You might think like, oh man, life's pretty easy. Life's going to get challenging for you at some point. I will guarantee you that. If it's been challenging, it's going to get more challenging for you at times. And you're going to have to make the right choices. And you're going to make wrong choices. I'll be the first one to tell you, I made plenty of them. All right, I'm never going to be that cop that gets up here and says, man, I just was here to protect and serve. I have never done anything wrong in my life. That's BS. I can't lie to you like that. All right, I used to run the street, do a lot of those things. But I've turned my life around and I'm here. Okay, I never got into anything too crazy, but I was a knucklehead for a little bit. All right, I was a child at some point in my life that didn't have, had choices to make. I'm glad I made certain ones. I'm glad other people made me go down certain paths as well. Okay, but that's a big thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is making those choices. So beyond the polygraph, like I said, it's brutal. You're sweating through the whole thing. You have to tell the truth. I told the truth. All right, and nothing that I did prevented me from being an officer. Okay. Because what people think of is, oh, they're Johnny do-gooders. No, we're all human beings. We all mess up on a regular basis. I'll tell you like this. I work a 12-hour shift on Sunday night. I made some mistakes. Okay? I could have treated people maybe a little different. Most of the times I treat people excellent, almost too good sometimes. On the street, I let people go for a lot of traffic violations and a lot of those things that I should be hammering them. But I make mistakes on a daily basis, okay? And so you got to make sure that you understand that about officers or firefighters or whoever. And then moving forward, we take a medical, okay? And that's just to make sure like your ticker's working good, you don't have any underlying health issues that's going to prevent you from being an officer, with your eyes, your hearing, those type of things. We just want to make sure you can do the job. And then you go to the academy. We have an officer that's coming out of the academy and she's got a week left. It's a 16-week academy. You're away from your family for 16 weeks. You get to come home on Saturday or Friday night, and Saturday you head back up Sunday. You go to the academy in Des Moines. I went as a 33-year-old man, and I was up there with a bunch of young 20s. I loved it. I loved the academy. I fell in love with it. I played college football. It was like back in college again. You're just like in dorm rooms essentially, and all you are is copping. You're copping 24 hours a day. You're learning how to fight. I already knew how to fight. You're doing defensive tactics. You're shooting. You're learning how to do traffic stops. You're learning how to do a lot of those things. But most of the stuff you're learning is just case law and Iowa code and how to act as a police officer. Okay, but I love the academy. I missed my wife, and I had one child at the time. Missed them, but I got to come home on the weekends and see them. And then the FTO process. That's the most important process that we have in the police department. You can go learn all this stuff at the academy, but when you come home, this is how you learn how to be a cop. Okay? Officer Carper was one of my field training officers. I had a amazing experience during my FTO process. I got put through the ringer on quite a few times. But I had 100 years of experience in FTOs, meaning they had 20 plus years, each of them. I had 4 different FTOs, and they had 20 plus years, except one of them. I think he had 10 years on. But we almost had 100 years of experience teaching me. And if you don't think that that is a knowledge base that you want, you're sorely mistaken. I ask questions nonstop to the point where a lot of my FTOs would go, "Are you ever going to stop asking questions?" But I wanted to learn because they had so much experience. And so that FTO process is extremely important to have good people teaching you how to do the job. I hope to get it to be an FTO. I'm certified to be an FTO, but I've been in investigations, so now that I'm out, I hope to be able to train. Because I know Officer Carper had a ton of enjoyment from training officers from his experiences. And you get to share your do's and don'ts, right? Because this job, you learn on the fly. I learn every single day that I step in, put the uniform on.
Also, as a field training officer, it makes you a better cop.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
you have to learn all the policies and procedures. You have to know how everything is supposed to work, so it makes you a better cop.
and on top of that, you're kind of liable for that person, right? That person goes in and does something under your watch, it's on you. You got to step in and intervene if they're, and it's not that they're trying to do something wrong, but a lot of times, officer safety stuff. If I'm coming over here and I'm searching this guy's bag right here, and I don't know this guy and he's walking up on me, that's an officer safety thing. I have a gun right here. If he comes up and takes my gun, I'm going to die from that gun. And if you don't think that's real, 92% of officers that have their weapon taken from them die from that weapon. 92%. 9 out of 10 people. That's scary. That is an absolute scary thing. So as an FTO, you got to make sure your people do not put themselves in compromised spots to have their weapons taken. And people try to take our weapons. I can tell you on 3 times in the last 18 months that people have tried to take our officers' weapons, literally fighting them for their gun.
I have them.
What's that?
I have them.
Oh yeah, me too. And here's the thing, none of those people died. None of those individuals died. But if an officer would have shot them, is that justified? It's not?
Yeah, I've known the situation.
If you try to take my gun, why are you trying to take my gun from me? If you have a gun on your hip and I come grab that gun and I'm yanking on that gun and I'm cussing at you, you can't shoot me? No?
Well, it depends.
So I'm supposed to let you have my gun and kill me?
Well, it depends on where you shoot them. It depends if it's justified.
So here's
If you shoot-
this is the
If you
debate.
shoot them in an area that's vital, I don't think it would be justified, but if you shoot them in an area that was like their arm or leg or something,
Wait.
that would just get them to stop, I think that would be
So this is a debate. This is a huge debate that you'll see across the nation, right? A huge debate. And I don't want to touch on it too much, but I want to very much touch on it a little bit real quick. So you just heard me tell you that 9 out of 10 officers who have their weapon taken from them die or dead from that.
Right.
9 out of 10 die from that weapon. And now it's okay for me to let you take my weapon?
No, that's not.
Okay, hold on. So if it's not okay when you're trying to kill me, because the statistic says 9 out of 10 die, I can't kill you for trying to do that?
Don't kill
You
them.
can't kill them. That's.
Arrest them, definitely, but don't kill them. You shoot them in like an area that would be vital.
Okay? If me and you are scuffling for a gun, and I go for your gun, I will tell you this, and no offense to you, I can take your gun 100 times out of 100. If me and you are fighting, I will be able to do
I
that.
have no doubt in that.
I will be able to take 100% of people in here's gun, maybe outside of Carper's, 100 times out of 100. I have a skill set that is pretty good. And if I try to take your gun from you, you can't shoot me? Because I'm trying to hurt you and probably trying to kill you. Because that's what the statistics say.
You can hurt, okay, you can hurt us, but not.
So, and I'll just say this then, I'll tell you this. So that's a big part about public safety. That's a big part about public safety, because I didn't sign up to die. I didn't sign up to die. I signed up to help people. But there's flat out people that try to kill us. People try to kill firefighters, people try to kill EMS, and people kill cops. And it happens every single day. And the thing that we have to get over is this, no offense, but you can hurt me, but you can't kill me. We're not in the business of hurting anybody. The only time I will ever inflict pain on you if you're trying to hurt me or somebody else.
Right, shoot them so we're not saying don't shoot them, we're just saying
I cannot shoot
them
you.
in an area that's
I cannot shoot you if I'm not trying to kill you. I cannot shoot you to wound you. If I pull my gun, I am going to kill you. If I pull that trigger, I'm going to try to kill you. I'm telling you right now, we can't shoot somebody, because if I shoot you in your leg and you bleed out, well, I wasn't trying to shoot them in the leg just to slow them up. No, I can't do that, because I'm going to go to prison for that.
Take away their kneecap privileges.
Right? I wish we could do those things, but we can't. All right? So that our jobs become very crazy, right? I got to decide, is this person trying to kill someone? Right? Or are they just trying to get away from the situation? Do they not want me to have my gun because they're scared that I might do something with my gun? I don't think that's the case. Statistically speaking, like I said, 9 out of 10 kill those people, kill officers. That's why it's so crazy, and that's why the FTO process is such an important thing, because you have to train officers correctly. Like I said, none of those people that tried taking officers' guns died from that weapon. We were able to use other tools. 2 of them got tased, and 1 got a rear naked choke. Put down. Okay? That's not a thing that we teach, right? It's something that I, as a DT instructor, a defensive tactics instructor, I know really well. I'll come behind you and just kind of lay you down. Okay? We don't teach that. But on that particular situation, if you're trying to take my weapon or my partner's weapon, I'm going to put you to sleep. You're going to go night-night. You're going to take a little lateral nap for a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. All right, go ahead. I'm glad we touched on that, though, because this next slide really goes to that. Family life. Again, I didn't sign up to die. Okay? I signed up to take care of people. But every day, the only thing that's most important to me is I go home to my family. There's plenty of jobs out there in the world. Right? Do you think that school teachers have to worry about going and dying like cops do? Do you think an accountant has to worry about going and dying like cops do? You should still be a little vigilant if you're those, because there's crazy people out there. But accountant's not dealing with people on their worst days every single day. A teacher, I hope they're not dealing with people's worst days. It should be people's good days. They're learning. Okay? The pros and cons about this are, you might have to make a life-altering decision like that could affect your life forever. Okay? Could affect your life forever. All right? I was involved early on in my career in a shooting where an individual died. That has affected my life for 7 years now. My family and I will never go out to a restaurant where I will just be relaxed. Never again. Because I had death threats and other things. So it has affected my life tremendously. Do I still love being a cop? Absolutely. Because I'm not going to let the emotions of folks that were wrong affect me. I'm still here for my community. I'm still here wanting to serve the community. But it has affected my family. Working in investigations, working with sex abuse. You think that affected my relationship with my daughters? Absolutely. I am hyper vigilant around my children, my 2 daughters. My kids, I'll guarantee you're not going to get a cell phone until they're like 114 years old. Because I can tell you right now, your cell phones, whoo! When I was in investigations, you didn't want me to have them. I'd find out every single thing you've done in the last 2 years. And you think you're deleting snaps? False. All that is on that phone for life. All of it. And I can tell you exactly the day that you did it. I can tell you your homeboy snap off of yours. These right here are dangerous. And as an investigator, they are the best thing in the world. I'm going to take this, I'm going to find out what your life's about. And I can do it in about 2 hours. Thanks for playing. Here's your life. I got it. Just because of this. And there's a lot of crap that are on these that is going on that should not be going on. And I can tell you, for the young ladies in here, the photographs that a lot of men have on their phones of young women, it is non-stop. Do not send photos to your boyfriend. You and your boyfriend will break up, and your boyfriend will send them to everybody. Because it happens non-stop. It happens non-stop. I will tell you, every single phone that I grabbed from 23, or from 14 to 23, of a male has high school girl nudes on it. So don't think that you're sending to a friend or a boyfriend and he's going to keep them. False. You guys will break up and he will send them to everyone.
Yeah, that happened to my friend.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I'm telling you right now. There's all kinds of stuff that happen on these. It's crazy how, and now, granted, I didn't grow up in this world, so I don't know that. I don't grow up in this era, right? I didn't have my first cell phone until I was 20 years old. All right, so I was well into college at that point. We didn't have Facebook. It came out near the tail end of my college. I didn't have any of this Snap. I didn't have any of this social media stuff. I don't have Facebook. I don't have any social media. That's just a choice that I'm making. I'm old school. I just don't want any part of that. I'm not saying there's some cool things. I get it. You keep in contact with people. But I'm telling you right now, people prey on people on those platforms. And I'm telling you right now, if you think for a second that it's going to be exclusive, it's not. Your stuff's going to be everywhere. And then you're going to be like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. Okay? Because it happens. And I'm here to tell you, it was almost 100% of the phones that I opened up. I'm like, it happens. It's nonstop. All right? So that, like I said, my daughters, they ain't having, I ain't gonna buy them a cell phone because I already know what happens on them. Okay? With that being said, my family life is, I got 2 young daughters who are extremely proud that I'm in public service. Okay? They don't know a whole lot what their dad does. They're 8 and 5, about to be 9. 8 and 5, and I don't want to share everything with them. As they get older, I will, but they know that I go to work and I try to help people. That's all they know. And that's truly what we try to do. Anybody in public service is trying to do that. Officer Carper was, right around 30 years, close to 30 years?
28.
Yeah, 28 years in public service. And I'm telling you right now, I'll be honest with you, it's a thankless job. You start developing a bond with your brothers and sisters at the department because that's who you can relate to. Because I can tell you guys right now, my wife and I have been together 15 years. She knows more about me than anybody. She has no clue what I do at BD. No clue. I share some things with her, but I don't want to bring some of that crap home. And so you start relying on the people at the department to understand you. And the one thing that I tell my wife is keep me grounded, don't let me get jaded. Meaning, constantly challenge me to not get frustrated with people. Because I have to understand, if I deal with you, a lot of times it's on your worst. And I don't want to judge you by that. I asked you your name and how old you are, and I said I'm gonna encounter you probably several times in your life. I hope a percentage of them are good. I hope they're like this. But I can honestly say for a lot of you, it probably won't be. You'll probably call me and you'll need help for some reason. Or you might be a problem.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We would like to wish a happy birthday to Shamanda Harper and Albert Collins. Today's lunch will be mini corn dogs with seasoned potato cubes, garden salad, and diced peaches. Students, check your email for the Boys and Girls Track and Field informational form. Creative Writing Club will meet today in Mr. Boyd's room at 3:05. Any interested student is welcome to attend. There will be a junior class cabinet meeting on Friday, December 15th at 7:40 in room 2105, Mrs. Hayes' new room. We will be getting more information on prom details from the senior class cabinet. Starting tonight, the Rec Sports Bubble will be rented out every Tuesday from 8 to 9:30 p.m. for any student that would like to